Okay, so this video is just a very quick summary of what we talked about today in the lesson regarding the Nursing 131 Assessment Task 3. So the first thing I want to point out is that Richard has posted an announcement recently with a link to the instructions and to the discussion board. If you haven't looked at the instructions yet or looked at the discussion board, you really should do that first. So if we go to the Assessment Task 3, this is the instructions here. Assessments and Resources, Assessment Task 3, it's down at the bottom here. Click on that and you will be taken to the page that gives you all this information. Now this is as much information as you could possibly need or want, giving you exactly how to write the essay and what the question is that you have to answer. So the question that you have to answer is really contained in these 3 points, right? So review these 3 points. This is the job that you have to do. How do I do the job? I maybe introduce it in this way. So I've actually taken a snapshot of this. I've highlighted it and copied it across to a Word document so it's easier to highlight. So let's have a look at that. So this is the same information that's on the internet, but I just wanted to point out that everything I've been telling you to do is repeated again by Richard here in the instructions. So for example, he suggests that this is a good way to think about writing the instructions rather. It begins by explaining your topic, which is the topic part, the general sentence that I've been talking about. This could be 1 or 2 sentences long. Make sure it's very general. Don't include any specific things that have changed or specific ideas about what you used to think. Just introduce the essay and the topic. The next thing you're going to do is do the first, I'm going to do this, second I'll do this, and finally I'll do this. So what are you going to write about? That's the preview. Do that next using the phrases in this essay. I will first, I will second, thirdly, finally, and so on. That sort of thing is your preview. And then you finish with specifically naming exactly what it is that has changed in your thinking. And this is your thesis. This is your specific point about exactly what you think. What is the answer to the question of how has your thinking about nursing changed over the last 10 weeks? So, once you've got the introduction sorted out, you need to know how to write the body. So he's given you lots and lots of ideas about this, and he's suggesting that maybe try doing it in 3 parts. So the first part is, first of all, talk about what you thought, past tense, right? What you thought the role of nursing was. So this is the first thing to do. Your first section, maybe 2 paragraphs, maybe 1 paragraph, it's up to you. All about what you used to think when you first began the course. Before you began the course, what did you think nursing was? And this might include some information about what you talked about in Assessment Task 1. You know, what did you say in Assessment Task 1 related to the role of nurses? The second part, the second section of your essay, which again it might be 1 or 2 paragraphs long, is what you understand now. Right? So this is where you write everything about what has changed and how has it changed, right? But don't go into detail about why it's changed or what caused it to change. For example, where did you learn the information and that sort of thing. All of that information comes in section 3. Section 3 is reflect on why these ideas changed, why, where these ideas have come from. So, to repeat, he's suggesting that section 1 of the body is your thoughts on the roles, including the original photograph or image, and then discuss what you talked about in AT1, what your original thoughts were, past tense, right? The next section is explain how your thoughts have changed. What is it you think now? Make sure that there is sufficient depth. In other words, don't go too crazy with lots and lots and lots and lots of changes. He's suggesting that perhaps we you focus on maybe 3, 4, not many, right? Not many big changes, so that you can go into lots of depths about how those have changed. So this is your second section. He suggests that this might be relatively short compared to section 3. Section 3 is actually going to do the big job. He's also very helpfully given you a example of what the section 2 might sound like. This is just one sentence that might come from the body, right? This is not the topic sentence. Don't copy this and think this is the whole paragraph. It's not the whole paragraph, right? This is one sentence from the body. It doesn't include a topic sentence. You have to create your own topic sentence for this section. All right, and then number 3, again, he's given lots and lots of detail about the why. So this is, in this stage of reflection, you are analyzing what is happening now. What has happened to evolve your understanding. You're talking about, very specifically, you should talk about, how, what has influenced the way that you think. Where did these ideas come from? So was it a tutorial? Was it something you read? Was it a video you watched? Where have these ideas, these changes in your ideas come from? If it was on MyLO or something that you've been given, make sure that you're referencing all of these things correctly. He's also very helpful, giving you 3 suggestions about what this section should include. So in section 3, in the 3rd section of your essay, you must include an exploration of the difference between nursing as a discipline and nursing as a profession. Okay, so let's just pause there for a second and go back to the internet, right? And nursing 131. If you go to module 1, module 2, module 3, you can see that module 1 is the introduction, module 2 is nursing as a profession, module 3 is nursing as a discipline. So in these 2 sections, you should be able to find out everything you possibly need to know about what the difference is between nursing as a profession and nursing as a discipline. For example, if I click on module 3 and I click on the first one, looks like this, right? This is the introduction to module 3, and you've got this lovely big introduction to what exactly is nursing as a discipline. What do we mean by the word discipline? And there's a nice quote from Nightingale, Florence Nightingale here. We've got some references from Chin and Kramer, right? So feel free to, all the information you need for your essay should be included in these modules, right? If you just go back and you reread it and you highlight what you need, you should be able to find everything you need to write your essay here. So make sure in your essay, make sure to include a discussion of, how is, this is maybe something that's changed, right? Maybe originally you thought of nursing as a profession, as a job, but now you understand it's more of not just a job. It is a job, of course, but it's also a discipline. And what does that mean? What kind of things have you learned are included in the discipline of nursing? So draw on scholarly literature. Don't forget to do that. Good papers will have scholarly literature throughout, right? Especially in the why section. Yeah, not so much in the first section. Section 1, you don't need a lot of references. Section 2, maybe a couple, like for example here, to follow that sort of pattern. You've got an NMBA 2018, page 2. That sort of quick reference is suitable for section 2, but section 3 should have lots and lots and lots of references. Okay, and then there's a quick review of what does the conclusion sound like. The conclusion should draw together the threads of your discussion. In other words, summarize point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. What has changed? 1 has changed, 2 has changed, 3 has changed, 4 has changed, full stop. Okay, that is your summary of what you think has changed. And finish with a strong statement that comes back to this thesis, right? Whatever the thesis that you said, specifically naming what has changed in your thinking, just repeat this down here, right? Do not add anything new in your conclusion. Your conclusion is just a summary. It is short and it is just a summary. Okay, so having talked about what you should do, let's have a look at what you did do. So these are the introductions that you shared with me, and you can see, just to remind you, it's very confused and poorly constructed, right? We need to have that section 1 is an introduction. Section 2 is the preview. But you can see, for example, here when we get into the middle, there's no first I'm going to do this, second I'm going to do this, third I'm going to do this. There's no preview really in Kabitas. In Sanju's we do have a little bit of this. I will first do this, I will second do this, I will third do this, and finally do this. That's good, but unfortunately the sections that you've chosen there, Sanju, don't relate to the question. So go back to what we just talked about before. Have a look at how your essay should be structured. Your first, second, third are really clearly laid out for you by Richard, so you should go back and pay attention to that. In this essay I will argue, not arrange, right? That's the wrong word. In this essay I will argue that, and then give your thesis, what exactly has changed, and be specific, but try and be clear. This is very unclear, and I'm not sure that this is going to really relate to the body either, right? Make sure that you first of all bullet points, what are my 5 changes, what are my 4 changes, what are my 3 changes, and however many changes you've come up with, that's the 3 changes or the 4 changes you put very briefly in your thesis. And Sushil, again, you've done quite a nice job. I will be doing this, I will be doing this, I will do this, but you need to, make it clearer by saying, firstly, I will do this, secondly, finally, I will do this, and make sure that they relate to the instructions that Richard's given you. Again, there is not really a thesis either. The thesis is very confused. You also bring in a lot of confusing ideas. All 3 of you bring in lots of confusing ideas, like Sanju talks about critical thinking skills, organizational skills, competent advocate. It's all just a mess of ideas, and none of these ideas are clearly stated. They're not clearly explained. Similarly, Kabita says humanity has a prominent role, and this was a previous thought apparently. She thought that humanity had a prominent role. I don't understand what that means, so try and clarify what you mean. And here again, professionalism with discipline, with care, following codes and standards, thinking critically. You need to, clarify this, make it clearer. Nursing does this. Discipline, which means this. Try and make it simpler and clearer. Alright, and I think that will do. The final thing I want to point out for everybody is don't forget these joining, right? We talked a lot in the last 9 weeks about joining your sentences together. Sushil, you're not doing it at all. Sanju, you're doing it, but you're doing it wrong. Look at the purple here, right? And Kabita, you're not doing it correctly either, right? But isn't used incorrectly. But is used incorrectly. So go back to the beginning and think about your introduction. And once you've got your introduction right, the body of the essay should fall into place very quickly. And don't forget, here's one of Sushil's body paragraphs. There's no topic sentence, there's no clear topic, and the sentences don't connect together in any way. Full stop, full stop, full stop, full stop, full stop. No explanation, no connection, no flow of ideas. Alright, good luck with everything.